Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. It's 1896, Key West, Florida. A beautiful Victorian mansion stands quietly under the moonlight. Inside, in a child's bedroom on the second floor, something is about to begin. A story that would haunt one family for decades. A story about a doll that some say was never just a doll. This is the tale of Robert. His name was Robert Eugene Otto, but everyone called him Gene. Gene was just a boy, 6 years old, blonde hair, curious eyes, living in that grand house with his parents. Now his family employed a Bahamian servant, a woman skilled in the old ways. Voodoo, some whispered. Black magic, others said. But one day, something happened. Jean's parents treated her poorly, very poorly. And when they finally let her go, she left behind a gift. A doll, about 3 feet tall, stuffed with straw, button eyes that seemed to follow you. Dressed in a little sailor suit just like the ones Jean wore, she handed it to the boy and said it was made especially for him. Jean named it Robert, and from that very first night, strange things began. At first, it was small things. Jean's mother would hear him upstairs talking, having full conversations. 2 voices, one high, one low. "Jean, who are you talking to?" she'd call. "Just Robert, Mother," he'd reply. She'd smile. Children and their imaginations, she thought. But then, the giggling started late at night. When Jean was fast asleep, giggling, coming from the doll's direction. Footsteps in the hallway. Small footsteps. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter. And the neighbors. Oh, the neighbors started seeing things too. They'd look up at Jean's window and see Robert, moving from window to window when no one else was home. One neighbor swore she saw the doll watching her, its head turning, following her with those button eyes. But the parents didn't believe it. Not yet, until the night Jean started screaming. Jean's room would be destroyed, furniture overturned, toys broken, chaos everywhere. "Jen, what have you done?" his father would shout. And the boy, trembling, tears streaming down his face, would point at the doll and whisper, "Robert did it." Over and over and over. Robert did it. The parents tried everything. They tried to throw the doll away. It would appear back in Jean's room. They locked it in the attic. They'd hear it moving around up there, scratching at the door. And Jean? Jean became different, withdrawn. He would only eat if Robert was at the table, would only sleep if Robert was watching. The doll had become part of him. Years passed. Jean grew up, left for art school, became a painter, but he never forgot Robert. And when his parents died, Jean returned to that house, and he brought Robert back down from the attic. Jean gave Robert his own room, a chair by the window, turret room, overlooking the street, and the sightings started again. School children walking by would see Robert in the window. They'd cross to the other side of the street. They were terrified of that doll. Jean's wife, Anne, hated Robert, begged him to get rid of it. But Jean refused. "He'll get angry," Jean would say. "We can't upset Robert." When Jean died in 1974, Anne finally locked Robert in the attic. She couldn't bring herself to destroy it. She was too afraid. The doll stayed up there until 1994, when the house was sold, and the new owners found Robert in the attic, sitting in his little chair, waiting. They tried to keep him. But after cameras malfunctioning, footsteps at night, and their daughter screaming that Robert wanted to kill her, they donated him to the Fort East Martello Museum, where he sits today. In that museum behind glass, Robert sits in his sailor suit. Visitors from all over the world come to see him. But there's a rule, a very important rule. If you want to take his picture, you must ask his permission. Out loud, "Robert, may I take your photograph? Because if you don't, he'll curse you. Hundreds of letters arrive at the museum every year. Apologies. From people who mocked him, photographed him without asking, or disrespected him. Letters begging for forgiveness, begging for the curse to be lifted. Because strange things started happening to them too. So tell me, if you ever visit Key West, if you ever stand before that glass case, will you remember to ask permission? Or will you risk becoming part of Robert's story?